Melissa, we had a little hesitation there, but I wanted to make sure, it's the first of the year. I wanted to make sure that we were live, and it seems that we are now. Sorry about that. There was definitely, as I like to say, the tech gods were with us. So, what I could say is that you're all the way across the country. So,
Yes,
welcome.
thank you very
Um,
much.
Tell everybody where you are and who you are. And thank you so much for joining us because if you look out your window, it's definitely the crack of dawn where you are.
It it is. So, well, thank you first of all for having me. And yes, my name is Melissa Deely. I'm an integrative health practitioner, and I live in the beautiful Whistler, British Columbia, which is a ski resort where the 2010 Olympics were held. So when it snows here, as it did all day yesterday, we actually leap for joy, which
So I just told Melissa offline, I am in Michigan. People watch from all over, but it's gray and gloomy in Michigan, and we don't necessarily leap for joy in the Detroit area. Our northern, um, up north Michigan, they're leaping for joy if it's snowing up there where we ski. But in the gloomy Detroit area today, where we don't get a little, we like, those sunny, those
yes.
sunny days. Today's just like that gloomy, sleety day where we just like want to just get a blanket. So tell me, the thing about Melissa is she was in the corporate world and sort of said goodbye to the corporate world and you have this new career. So I have to ask, what, you know, made you decide to leave the corporate world and sort of change directions? And um, this new direction, what is it all about?
So 5 years ago, I was laid off after a 24-year career with one company that I absolutely loved. And it was just one of those things where big fish bought little fish, and big fish came through and cleaned house and said, "We don't need all of you because we already have people doing your jobs." And so they, I was working for our corporate office, and they probably wiped out about 80% of us. And while, I had a month or so heads up that this could happen because I knew we were for sale, et cetera, and that it wasn't about me or the quality of my work, and I wasn't the only one, it was still one of those things that was hard to swallow after 24 years.
Of
And
course.
I was also given an hour's notice to clear out my desk and not even a word of thanks, which hurt more than anything else through that process. And in that moment, when I got that phone call, I knew two things. One was that I was never going to work for someone else again, because look where 24 years of loyalty got me.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I had no idea what I was going to do next, but it had to be of service. And I was open to being guided. And I truly didn't know what it would be. But later that year, I stumbled upon a company that was specializing in brain supplementation. And I thought that was really interesting because here I was, I used my brain 24/7, and no one had ever taught me how to truly look after it for optimal function and optimal longevity. And I knew we had, near epidemic levels of Alzheimer's and dementia. And I thought, wow, what if, we could teach people how to look after their brains so they didn't end up with Alzheimer's and dementia. And that kind of fit my service category, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got involved with that company and started learning about the brain, doing my own research, realizing that this brain supplementation and nutrition for the brain was also really good at helping people heal from concussions, of which we have a lot of in Whistler. I started working with the physios up here, and lo and behold, 4 months later, my oldest daughter got a concussion in her first grade 12 soccer game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to use these nutrients with her, as well as, because I wasn't working, go to every single one of her appointments, which I needed to be there because she was in no shape to remember everything that she was being told, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 2 months after that, my second daughter got a concussion in gym class in grade 8. And when I got that phone call, I was driving to Vancouver, and the school asked me to come pick her up with a suspected concussion. Obviously, they knew my other daughter wasn't at school because of a concussion. And in that moment, I literally looked up at the sky and went, "Really? This is how you show me my new path? Please stop taking out my children." And So now I had 2 concussions, so kind of like a lab in my house with this really amazing brain supplementation, 2 very different concussions, and continued going to both sets of appointments.
Yeah.
And the great news is both girls fully healed. What I also figured out through that process is, what do other people do that need help on their healing journey, but don't have a mom that isn't working, that can go to every appointment and guide them on that journey?
Yeah.
And being that I'm in a small town, a lot of people knew our story. Other people started asking me for help with concussions for employees or spouses or children. And I was asked to work in a holistic clinic to help others heal from concussions. And I did that for about a year before our greedy landlords decided they were going to jack the rent, and we couldn't afford to offer holistic practices to the community anymore.
I want to stop you right there so I have an understanding. When you say holistic supplements, is it, tell me what that is. Tell me what that looks like.
So it's supplements that are made from plants and food, basically, right? So it's just all natural. There's no, chemical formulation, of man-made chemicals, etc. And they can be bought over the counter. Now,
So, and I say that because I have lacrosse players,
mhm,
um, and well, I had lacrosse players. Concussions are bound to happen and did happen. I actually had my youngest had a football. His first concussion was a football concussion. His second concussion was probably far worse. I
mhm,
took him out of school for about 2 weeks. I think my house was just jet black,
yeah,
just, that's kind of how bad it was. Um, but he wasn't given anything from the doctor per se to take. So, and I'm playing devil's advocate here just to have an understanding.
yeah,
So um, and I guess I'm thinking back. I guess I don't remember if he was given anything, but I don't recall him given anything. It was more just rest your brain. Here you have a kid in high school, and all they want to do is, have their phone to their face and TV. And I was like,
yeah.
this is close your eyes, sleep. Really relax. So tell me what the supplements, where those play a part in like that healing process
Right.
to something like that.
Yeah, so basically it's nutrition specifically for the brain. So if you think about it, if your body is sick and you eat really well, your body
Hmm.
can heal more quickly, right?
Got
And
it. Okay.
so if your brain is injured, it it needs energy to heal. And concussion understanding of concussions has changed so significantly and
Hmm.
continues to change and evolve, right? So we've kind of moved away from the dark room and moved into a place of having people understand their energy level, which has shifted dramatically from pre-concussion, because the brain still needs energy to heal, right?
Hmm.
And so where I work with people, when I do work with people with concussion, is helping them understand their body's signals in order for them to live within their new and lower energy level, so that the brain still has energy left to heal. But if we
Got it.
also bring good nutrition for the brain into that piece, then we're giving the brain more energy to heal, right? So I talk to people about in kind of living within their safe zone. And the danger zone is when their symptoms are starting to show up, their headaches getting worse, or they might, start to feel nauseous or dizzy or whatever
Hmm.
their symptom is, because this is different for everyone. So it has to be
Yes.
very individualized. But when their body is talking to them, that's that warning sign that the brain doesn't have enough energy left to heal, and they need to dial back whatever it is that they're doing.
Hmm.
And I have a point system. So there's all these points of daily activities that we have and things that we do every day, like, brushing our teeth and washing dishes and making dinner and taking a shower. They all have points assigned to them, driving, so that we know how much energy that's using in a given day. And we can kind of live within a structure that allows us the energy left to heal, versus using too many points, which is what we do if we're on our devices all the time, because that's highly stimulating for the brain.
Absolutely.
And then the brain is not in healing mode at that time.
So how does that then, is that sort of the same system that when you see the onset of Alzheimer's or dementia, and that is it a similar uh, point system? Um,
You know what? I'm not familiar enough with Alzheimer's and dementia specifically and how people try to treat that and if they have a point system. This one
okay,
is specific for concussion,
okay,
but the nutrition for the brain relates to Alzheimer's
got
and
it.
dementia. And I
Okay.
know people that have used these supplements in order to slow the onset of the disease. Um, I'm not going to say it cures because we don't have enough data on that.
Yeah, yeah.
They know that it's slowing, and they know that they're not deteriorating as quickly as what doctors had expected. And in some cases, they actually are gaining back abilities to live a more normal life.
Well, it seems to me what you're doing is boosting your immune system to in all these areas for whatever's coming at you, which I think that we're all guilty of
Well,
of not doing. I mean, we're seeing
there's the
this.
brain gut connection too, right? So
Yeah.
that was the start of my story, was dealing with concussion and then
Hmm.
being asked to work in this clinic, but I didn't have any certification. I only had my own research and learning and my kids' experiences, right? So I went back to school, and that's when I got my health coaching certification. And from there, I learned about the integrative health practitioner training, and I've now completed that, which allows me to do functional medicine lab tests and truly see what's going on inside the body. And what's beautiful about that, and as I started learning all of this, I got really interested in the brain gut connection. And when we're looking at concussion, first of all, I was really one of the first ones in our area to bring nutrition to the concept of concussion. It hadn't really
Mm.
been addressed until I started looking into that. And it is so important because what we put into our body does impact the health of our gut. And 70% of our immune system is housed in our gut. So if we're boosting the health of our gut, as you said, we're boosting our immune system. But in addition to that, when our brain is injured, it impacts our gut. When our gut is unhappy, it impacts our brain because of that brain gut connection through the vagus nerve, which is so powerful. And so if you stop and think about it, if you have a headache, do you really feel like eating? How do you feel in your gut? If you have a stomach
Hmm.
ache, how are you feeling in your head? Like, we don't realize the connection until someone points it out. And then we're like, oh, yeah,
It's true. Yeah.
right? And so a missing piece when it comes to concussion is leaky gut. Is the injured brain will often result in a leaky gut, which is problematic because it means that particles of food and antibiotics and toxins and potentially parasites or bacterial overgrowth are getting through the intestinal wall because it gets leaky and permeable, and things can get through these tight junctures that should be tight and into our bloodstream. And then our liver has to work even harder to detoxify our bloodstream. And left unchecked, it can also go through the blood brain barrier and into our brain, which nobody wants, right? So we have to be addressing the gut when we're addressing the healing of the brain. And in my work now as an integrative health practitioner, I've moved more into the focus on the gut because so many people out there in the world today are struggling with the health of their gut. And interestingly, thousands of years
It,
ago,
I have to say this makes so much sense because like I suffer from migraines, and I do know that if I have too much sugar or too, when it's my diet isn't as balanced, it does have a natural cause, or my headaches are worse, or I can go, oh, we know that. I mean, there's you have to have the balanced nutrition to feel better, but you have to think like, head to toe.
exactly,
I,
exactly.
I
And
do want to I do want to point out right now as people watch this, and we post it, that you've given everyone a quiz to take,
yes,
and we've put that link on, which is a quiz, and while we're talking about it, tell people what's in that quiz, because I'm pretty sure this might be one that we don't all pass.
Right. Unfortunately, but
Yeah.
it's good to do the quiz and find out. So the quiz is to discover your toxic load. And so in my work as a holistic practitioner, as an integrative health practitioner, I don't diagnose and I don't cure. Instead, what I do is I help people find their toxic load and we remove the toxins, as well as discover their deficiencies. And that's through the use of the functional medicine labs and being able to see exactly what's going on inside your body, and then support those deficiencies with supplementation and natural herbs to bring the body back into balance. Our modern life has us living way out over here, kind of out of balance with, too much stress, not enough sleep, too many toxins, antibiotics, etc. And the body can't bring itself back. So we need to support it in getting it back into balance, at which point it will heal itself. Just like it does a cut finger or a broken arm, the body knows how to heal when we create the environment for it to be able to do so. And so this toxic load quiz helps people understand and link the symptoms that they are feeling, which is simply their body talking to them. Just like with a concussion, when I was talking about the body talking to us, it talks to us, but we often don't slow down enough to pay attention.
Yeah.
So you go through these quizzes, the quiz, and it will ask you, how often do you feel this, and this, right? And it could be migraines, it could be, allergies, it's all sorts of things. And people start to relate, oh, I thought that was simply aging, or I thought that was seasonal, or I thought that was my genes. In reality, all of these different symptoms that people might be encountering are partially, at least, the result of the toxic load. We have 100,000 man-made chemicals that have come into our world since World War II. Many of them are not even tested for safety on humans. And if they are tested for safety on humans, they're tested based on that one chemical being used a couple of times, not that chemical at the same time as this one and this one and this one and this one. And ultimately 7 days a week, right? And so our bodies evolve so slowly from the beginning of time to now, and they just don't know how to deal with all these chemicals. And so again, our liver and kidneys are getting bogged down with trying to process all of this and get it back out of our body. And when they get overloaded, they can't. And they either store it in our adipose tissue to keep it out of our bloodstream, which makes us gain weight. And at the same time, it's also triggering inflammation in the body, which then has cells signal to turn on disease. And nobody wants that. Nobody wakes up saying, I want to be diagnosed with a disease today, right?
Of course. So let me ask you, when we take this quiz, and let's just be honest, we all want to come visit you in Whistler. Then nothing sounds better than that right now. But we're a little homebound, no matter where we are. Once we take this quiz, what do we do with the information today? What can we, how do we process what we learn from it? Because I think it's really important that we get ourselves, especially at the first of the year, back to balance.
Yes.
Or, and I never say resolution, but we all do want to start the new year with some goals and some healthy goals.
Absolutely. And I actually use the word intentions rather than resolutions, because resolutions mean something.
We'll break them. 3 weeks from now, my husband came home the other day. He goes, boy, that gym, I went to the grocery store and that gym was packed. I said, ugh, 2 weeks from now, I'll drive by that gym. Nobody will be there.
So I like intentions far better.
Yeah.
But it's my mission to have people change their mindset around their health and to prioritize it, because I like to ask people, if you don't have your health, what do you have? How can you raise your family, earn an income, and live your purpose on this earth?
And if we took nothing out of 2020, that is what we needed to take out of 2020 to bring into 2021.
Exactly.
And health is so important.
It is. And my business tagline is health is your true wealth. First, invest in your health, and then you have everything else, the energy to do everything else you want.
100%.
So with the toxic load quiz, it's an online quiz, and at the end, it'll give you a score. Unfortunately, with the font of the design of the quiz, it's quite a small score. So look at the score number, and then it'll tell you, whether you should be doing a 7 or a 14 or a 21-day detox. Okay. And from there, my business is 100% virtual. So it doesn't
Oh,
matter that
wonderful.
I'm in Whistler. As much as I'd love you to come visit, it doesn't matter where I am. If you speak English, then you can work with me via Zoom. And so I also have a button there to book a complimentary 30-minute call with me. And I will walk you through next steps. But the next steps are going to be ordering your detox kit and then deciding whether you want to do it on your own time with me guiding you through it, just as a one-to-one session. And I have an app, which is really great because it keeps you accountable throughout the entire time. And everything you track in there flows through to me so I can cheer you on. Or if I see you're having a headache, I'm going to remind you that you need to hydrate more, things like that. So that's the one-to-one process of the detox. Or I offer group sessions. I actually have one starting today, and I do them regularly throughout the year. And that's working with people in a group through private Facebook group, and again, guiding them through. I provide the recipes, the meal plan, the shopping list in order to set people up for success. Because how many times, just like the gym, do we start something
Yeah.
and we fall off? And very often we fall off because we're unprepared. We get home and we're hungry and we need to eat now, or we're not sure we're doing it right and we don't have someone to ask. And so I set you up for success with those recipes and make sure you've done your meal planning so you are prepared and you always have food, and as a place throughout the program to ask your questions so that you know you're supported and you know you're doing it right, so you have no excuse to fall off.
So
And
I'm going to direct people to that, which is yourguidedhealthjourney.com. And
that's my website.
that's
Yes.
the website.
Yes.
And I think that you hit on what's one of my 2021 words, or at least the first 6 months of 2021, which is accountability. I use it with one of my clients who is in the health industry. Accountability is so important. Do it with a friend, your husband, a child, a health coach. Accountability is so important, because the truth of the matter is that someone is counting on you, you're counting on someone. That's what sets you up for success. I believe that in business. I did a business class last night. We talked all about accountability. I think, there's something about, we've spent a lot of time in in a little bit of isolation this year, whether it's just been working or family isolation. But the truth is, you don't need to be isolated. We're on Zoom. You can make yourself less isolated by
Yes.
making yourself accountable to other people, and having people be accountable to you, and
Absolutely.
in your exercise journey, in your health journey, your friendships, all of those
Absolutely.
things. And so I'm going to make sure all those links are on this. I wish we could talk a lot longer, so we'll just have you come back on.
I'd love to come back. And I just want to add one thing quickly to what you were saying about accountability. The truth of the matter is that unfortunately we will let ourselves down, but we don't let someone else down. And
That's
that
very
is
true.
simply why it's so important.
It's very true. We
Yeah.
we find excuses for ourselves. Oh, I put on exercise pants twice this weekend and did not get on my treadmill.
Right.
And nobody said to me why or why not. I and
Right.
I, I don't want to let you go without talking about a nonprofit that you is very near and dear to you, because I think it's amazing that you also find time in your busy schedule to have time to give back. And so I definitely want you to talk about the nonprofit organization that you work with, before I let you go and the sun
Sure.
comes up.
So, yes, thank you. So it's girlsmatter.ca. Um, and I started this back in 2017 as a result of actually taking my Girl Guides, or as you call them in the States, Girl Scouts, to watch a movie called Girls Rising. And I sat through that movie watching the struggle for all of these girls in their right to an education. And it just came to me that education should be a right and not a privilege. And I didn't know how or what to do, but I knew I had to do something. And I brewed on it for a while and called a friend who had a nonprofit and said, how do I start a nonprofit? And she asked what I was doing and why, etc. And then she decided to join me, which made it much easier. And so it's amazing. Sometimes we don't have to know the how, we just have to have the desire to do something.
Yeah.
And so we work with girls in Uganda and we help keep them in school and then going on to university. And we break the poverty cycle, one girl, one family, one village at a time. Because if we weren't keeping them in school, they would be being married off as teenagers because the family can no longer afford them. And the family doesn't necessarily want to do that. It's just that's the reality of their life circumstances. And so we have a team on the ground there that work with the other nonprofit my girlfriend was already involved in. And we have a screening process for the girls. We obviously do need to make sure, culturally that their family will support them staying in school before we start paying for that or raising funds for that, for instance. And so we have kept over 10 girls in school since 2017 that have finished high school. And we've had one girl finish university and we had one girl
Wow.
start university in 2020. But then, of course, COVID hit, so their university's closed as well. So she will continue when the university reopens. And so it's exciting to help these girls, create a new future for themselves and be
Mm-hmm.
able to do something different and not follow the path of their mothers and having children too young and,
Yeah.
no job and
Well,
no.
and that's how you break a cycle,
Exactly.
of and change some cultural norms.
Hmm.
So that's incredible, and that's really why I wanted you to bring that up because I think again, it's changing toxins in your body, changing, it's all about changing, and it's a mindset, and it's doing it, and asking how, and
Yeah.
asking for help,
Yes.
and not being afraid to do it. So I, saw your story. I'm so happy that you came on to talk to me today. I said we could keep talking. We might lose people along the way here, but Melissa Deely of yourguidedhealthjourney.com. I want to make sure everybody got that, but I'm going to post it. Um, Enjoy Whistler if I
Thank
ever
you very
get
much.
out there and get my skis back on. That
Yeah,
it
come and
sounds
visit.
it sounds magnificent. I would love to. I'd like, I say this all the time lately. I'd like to go anywhere. I'd
Yes.
like to get on. I'd like a passport and an airplane ticket in my hand really soon. So, what a pleasure to meet
Cool.
you. I'm glad, people are watching and got to meet you as well today.
Well,
So,
thank you so much for having me. And I wish everyone in 2021 more health, more joy, and more visits with friends.
I could not agree with you more. So, to that, have a wonderful week and a great day as well.
Thank you very much. And you too.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.